What's up? It's your boy Ing Vendetta. Hope that you're doing fantastic because you deserve to feel fantastic. This is a special video right now. So I have a lot to say, so let's get right into it. And this show is not a show; it's a movie review, and it's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's crazy to think that. So context. I had this store next to my house who sells DVDs for $5, but they're old DVDs, right? There's like a basket. It's Walmart, so you have basket of DVDs, and they put in the $5, and one of them was Get Him to the Greek, and Get Him to the Greek was this phenomenal movie I've watched over 20 times. One of my favorite movies. It was phenomenal. And then, little did I know, there was a prequel. It's an unofficial prequel. So, Get Him to the Greek is about Aldo Snow. Aldo Snow appear and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Jonah Hill appears in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but it's about a different show. And it's weird to say, but as I grew older, I now realize that Forgetting Sarah Marshall is the better movie. And there's a couple of reasons why, but there's one thing I want to say is I do like Jonah Hill. I do like I forgot his name. Russell Brand, sorry. But I do prefer Jason Segel. Why? Because grew up watching How I Met Your Mother. I grew up thinking Ted was a cool guy, but then I realized that Marshall was the one I wanted to be. Marshall was the one that took responsibility. Marshall was the one in the relationship. Marshall was like a decent person. He was the amazing person. The amazing, right? It doesn't make any sense, but to me it does. Right, so we have this character who is Jason Segel, and he's dating this super celebrity, which is played by Kristen Bell. I think Kristen Bell, she's super talented. I think she's super underrated because I discovered her. I knew she existed, I knew who she was, but I really discovered her talent in The Good Place. And in The Good Place, she completely blew my mind. So yeah, so they're dating, and then you realize that she breaks up with him, and it's oh my god, this is such a good movie. It is a phenomenal movie. Probably possibly one of my favorite. Like I've watched it slightly less time than Get Him to the Greek, but it is still fantastic. So we had a character which was Christian Bale character, which is the girlfriend, and she's like, we're breaking up. Then we learn that there's a guy in her life, right? So it's kind of cool because this is a story about a guy who goes through breakup. I mean, I'm a guy. I've been through breakup. I'm able to relate to that. And then we realize that the other person is Aldo Snow, which was super famous, right? And what is really nice about this is we're getting the stage where he goes to bar to hook up with girls. He gets to the stage where he doesn't know what to do anymore. He's depressed. We later realize this is what I love about the movie. I know I'm jumping the gun, right? I know I'm jumping the gun, right? But I don't care. This is my review. This is how I want to do it. Sorry. So we get this character who's working on a super famous show, which is like a NCIS, right? And the reason why he kind of got a job was for Sarah Marshall, which was his girlfriend, who played the lead role in the show. So he was making the music and he was making a decent salary. And then in the movie, he gets asked, "Do you like doing what you want?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's a cool job. I get a stable salary." And then we realize that he fucking hates the job, and it's kind of cool because we know he hates the job. And we're not sure why. If it's because it reminds him of Sarah Marshall, or because he wants to be more creative. There's this really cool thing with a puppet. It calls Dracula, like a musical, and it's really good. Jason Segel is fucking talented. Let me tell you what. I always admired this guy. I mean, Sarah Marshall, Marshall himself. The fact that we have Sarah Marshall, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Marshall, it's kind of poetic, right? So he goes to work. He's not being cool. He gets kind of fired. He goes to every single place. He's like, "Yo, it doesn't work." So his stepbrother, sorry, played by Bill Hader, which is a phenomenal actor. Also, he's like, "Well, if you're not happy, you need to go." And finally, he goes to Hawaii, and lo and behold, we learn that Sarah Marshall is also in Hawaii with her lover. So super shitty situation, right? Well, you would think so. Except for Mila Kunis, which is a big crush of mine since I was like young, very young. Sorry, Ashton. She's cute, bro. She cute. What can I say? I'm gonna be honest, right? And yeah, so Mila Kunis, she's at the desk and she treats him well. And what I do like about the show, the movie in itself, is because we see this guy who's clearly depressed. We see this guy who's clearly he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he wants in life because he just loved the person he thought he wanted. We learned that the Jason Segel character was accepting a lot of bullshit because, lo and behold, I'm saying this too much, right? I'm sorry. Because we learned that as long as he had Sarah, he was willing to sacrifice, right? So we know he loved to watch. He loves to watch TV. He loves to watch serial. And then one of the very first scene, Sarah, she's calling him. Hey, I'm almost back. So he changes shit, and she tells him, "Have you eaten salad?" And he just doesn't eat salad, but she kind of push him to do stuff, and we realize just how shitty he is. Shitty life is for him, and I think he was willing to accept that life was shitty because he was happy in his relationship, but at the end, it wasn't really happy with the relationship, and that's why I think the show is so good. I think the movie is so good. It's because it's not necessarily about a guy losing his girlfriend. Yeah, the movie is forgetting Sarah Marshall, but it's forgetting life you had, and it's kind of cool that he's going in Hawaii and he starts to do new stuff, right? And he learns to surf, and he learns to just be himself. There's so many good things in that movie for him to heal. There's a guy who sneaks him some alcohol, and he's like super cool. There's a guy who said, "Yo, I know you're in pain. We're gonna cook this pig up. It's gonna help you out." We learned that Sarah and Aldous, they're seemingly super in love, so we feel bad for Jason Segel. Because Aldo Snow is this rock star and he's a badass. Everybody loves him. Jason Segel is just this one guy. It's funny because it's really funny actually because we got Jonah Hill, which is kind of like the waiter most of the time for Jason Segel, and he keeps talking about Aldo Snow is cool, right? That Aldo Snow, who's actually a good guy, and it's funny because we got Jonah Hill, who's a oh my god, fuck, it's going nowhere. So I'm so sorry. I'm a complete mess, but I had to try. So Jonah Hill, and we get him to the Greek, is this musician guy, and he helps Aldo Snow. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but we know that Jonah Hill, it doesn't really have a name in the movie. We know Aldo Snow is Aldo Snow. So the fact that we got this two actor and get him to the Greek school, I don't know if Forgetting Sarah Marshall was made before getting to the Greek or after. I just know that there's a link, and the only reason why we know it's before is because in the plane, Aldo Snow is listening to the show. I said Kristen Bell was on, which is Sarah Marshall. It's like, oh yeah, I used to date that girl. So we know that it is. We know it's possibly. We know there's at least 7 years because she has a kid with Jackie Q. We're gonna be reviewing Get Him to the Greek after, don't worry. And yeah, the kid is 7 years old, so it does make a lot of sense, right? And and the movie is kind of cool because he falls in love with Mila Kunis, and she falls in love with him back. It's really cool because through her, he realized how shitty his life is. Like he asked her, "Don't you want to do more?" And she asked him about his job, how he thinks his job is the best, and then you realize that no, it's not really the best, and he's kind of you kind of realize it through her. There's there's a part of the at the bar where she wants to grab him a drink. He wants to grab her a drink. It's like, no, you don't have to pay for everything. I'm not that kind of girl. Then you realize like Sarah Marshall was making him hold her bag. It was making her like her hey boy. Hey boy is somebody that you say, hey boy, do this, right? And you feel bad for Jason Segel. And what I really love about the movie is, yes, this guy is depressed. This guy is living through pain, and then you see Sarah Marshall, who also broke up, but she's doing so much better. We later learn that she's been having sex with Aldo Snow for a year, so she's over the guy. We later learn that the relationship between her and Aldo Snow isn't working, so she gets sad, and it's kind of cool to see. Well, it's bad because I do like the character of Sarah Marshall. Yeah, she's. She's broken. She had a good relationship, and then she realized that she broke up a good relationship for a relationship that clearly doesn't work, right? And she gets jealous of Mila Kunis because she's dating Jason Segel character, and it's cool to see that Sarah Marshall at the end she's depressed. The role exchange, right? And Jason Segel, he's having fun. He wants to surf. He gets to talk with Aldo Snow, and he's like, "Yo, you're super cool. So I'm not that mad because you're actually a good guy." And he realized that she was to blame, not him, right? And it's also really cool because we got this we had this moment where she's done with Al Snow, they break up, and she wants to get back with Jason Segel, but Jason Segel's like, yo, he has a moment of weakness, and he refused. At the end, he refused her. They don't have sex. He's honest with Mila Kunis, and they're like, yo, fuck it, you shouldn't do that. She should get pissed at him. You should leave. And she's right. He did cheat on her, right? But the movie is for 4 days, so it's kind of like a special situation since they were in a relationship with Christian Bale for so long, right? But I do understand where Mila Kunis she's coming from because yeah, he did cheat. That's an awful move. The movie ends up by him realizing his musical and her Mila Kunis coming to the show, and then they're having this relationship. It's such a good movie because again we get this broken guy who's in this process of healing, and we got I'm a big fan of Perception. So Perception, why is this guy is loser? He lost a good relationship. He's depressed, and she's good. She's all good. But at the end, she ended up being in a worse position than he is. So I think it's kind of cool that we see the role is reversed, not because she's a man, not because he's a man, not because she's a woman, but just because the cheater who actually had a better situation end up understanding that nah, she fucks up. And I think that's a big lesson in the movie. The lesson also in the movie is not accepting your life at the end, that you're never whatchamacallit, never settle. Jason was settling for a job that he didn't like. He was settling for a girl that he was in love with, but she didn't love him back. So I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool to see that there's always hope. There's always this. There's a moment where he's asking Paul Rudd, one of my favorite actor, Ant-Man, where how old are you? And you realize the guy is 44 and he's still living the life he wanted. He's still making the choices he wanted. I think that's also really nice. There's some other couple I'm not gonna talk about because yeah, they added to the show, but not enough for me to be like, oh wow, they made the movie. And it's seriously a good movie. It's a comedy. There's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of comedian. Again, there's one of my favorite actors, Jason Segel, super talented, and I just love the movie. It's a solid shit. Solid shit. Watch it out. Watch it. Sorry.